Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Bitcoin News Hour, brought to you by Cafe Bitcoin, the most active Bitcoin club on Clubhouse. During the Bitcoin News Hour, we will cover all the latest headlines in Bitcoin. But this isn't your normal network news show where they talk and you just listen. Today's headlines will be presented and discussed by you, the members of Cafe Bitcoin. To participate in the Bitcoin News Hour, simply change your avatar to the headline you'd like to talk about. Today's moderators will then bring you up from the audience. You'll get 1 to 2 minutes to introduce the headline and give everyone the gist of the story. And then everyone will discuss the news before we move on to the next headline. Now, before we get started, do us a favor and click the plus sign at the bottom right of your screen to invite anyone you know who might enjoy this show. And if you're new to Cafe Bitcoin, click on Cafe Bitcoin at the top left and join the club. You can also visit cafebitcoin.club to find our full schedule of events, as well as a fantastic list of beginner Bitcoin resources. And now, get your headlines ready because it's time for the Bitcoin News Hour.
You heard it, folks. Change your avatars. Come educate us on a story. Let's talk about it. Aaron, I'm going to skip ahead to Travis's story because it's one that I was paying attention to, and you noticed I changed my avatar to a little bit of the brands and logos of those companies that should be announcing this week. It's earnings season. So, Travis, if you're ready, man, I'd love to skip ahead to you before we go to Aaron.
I think mine is the same thing as Brecky, basically.
Well, I just PTR'd Brecky. Sorry about that, Brecky. I just PTR'd and realized.
No, Travis. No, it's funny because I just when I saw Brecky's, I just switched to another one too. But here's the one from Decrypt. It says Elon Musk's Tesla sold Bitcoin in Q1. Earnings report reveals. So he sold, or Tesla sold 272 million worth of Bitcoin, but kept. I think this is the important part. The rest of it, right, which is like 1.3 million or whatever it is. I'm trying to find the number. So like basically in their earnings report, they announced that they sold some of what they bought, but they've still got a significant amount, which is really
I
interesting.
think it's billions, right? Billions.
Yeah. Like I think that they sold, sorry, let me pull it up one more time. Article says $272 million payday, contributed to a net quarterly income of $438 million. And then it goes on. But I think that basically the fact that they didn't sell even more than that, I think is the more interesting aspect. So they kept, 1.3 mil or billion, rather. Sorry.
American Huddle, what do you think of those weak hands that Elon's got?
I've been saying this for a while, that this is why I think supercycle theory is bullshit, because supercycle theory is too rational, and institutions have a ton of outside sell pressure, right? And really what they care about is the price of their stock and how they look to analysts. So, the Bitcoin on their balance sheet is less meaningful to them at this point in time than the dollar value.
And you have to assume that some of their strategy on buying it is to sell it as it meets certain benchmarks, I would think, right? That goes for any of these companies that are buying, except for maybe Saylor.
They literally have a fiduciary responsibility to maximize their profit.
Yeah.
You could interpret that a lot of different ways, though. The fiduciary responsibility.
I mean, depending on that, depending on their goals, that fiduciary responsibility can bend is where I think HODL's going. That's where I'm at too. I think that we I've tried to say this I've probably at a couple hundred times. We say institutional money, and then we think that there is this square peg for a square hole for institutional investors. These are even if you just look at the corporations here that are listing their earnings, look how different all of these companies are. All right. Then you got family offices, you got endowments, you got pension funds. I mean, there's so many different labels to institutional investor, and I'm not shocked. I suppose now on the back end of this info, but yeah, I would tell you that I was expecting, and I've stated it here and in other rooms, that Tesla was going to be announcing more buys. So I'm not going to brush it off, but Bitcoin doesn't need Tesla. Even Tesla will need Bitcoin.
True.
Aaron, any thoughts on this, or do you want to maybe go into your story, perhaps?
My internet's acting up.
Real quick, what do you think that that him holding still 1.3 billion signals to other companies looking to get in? That's a pretty strong signal for holding, right? I would think.
I mean, so like, absent anybody else wanting to chime in on this, I absolutely still think it's important. Like, do I think the story is significantly different if they sell 1.5, like all 1.5 that they bought, or whatever it's worth in today's market dollars? Sure, and I would tell you that, like, realizing that it's such a small number, still is, I think, an incredibly bullish sign in my mind. But I was expecting that Elon was going to do what Michael Saylor has taught him how to do and buy some dips and take a real aggressive treasury management strategy with Bitcoin. But, he's still trying to go to space. I'm not sure how he's getting there, but I'm confident that he's going to get to Mars somehow, and this will be part of it.
Yeah.
Anyone else want to weigh in on that?
I'm just, as an Elon fanboy, I'm sad. That's all I'm going to say.
Yeah, Elon is a noob. Like, I mean, really, I haven't heard anything out of Elon that makes me think he really understands what's happening here. Compared to Michael Saylor. Like, when you hear Michael Saylor talk, you're like, okay, this guy really fucking gets it. Elon came out and his comments surrounding Bitcoin were kind of just like, I think it's an interesting currency. And this is a terrible Elon impression, but he didn't say anything revolutionary.
Are
Like,
you doing Trump
he
or
still
Elon?
doesn't really understand Bitcoin.
Well, Hodl, so I don't know if you know, but the history of PayPal is kind of interesting. They were trying to create a
Yeah, I know.
cryptographically secured currency. So, and he's an engineer. Like, I don't know. Like, he could be playing like 4D chess, right? Like pretending to be dumb about Bitcoin. That would.
I think he just
Here's
actually
another
is dumb
possibility.
about Bitcoin because even the smartest people in the world, it takes quite a while to get up to speed on Bitcoin. Hundreds of hours.
Excuse me, guys. I'm so sorry to interrupt. I think we have some breaking news.
Ladies and gentlemen, can I please have your attention? I've just been handed an urgent and horrifying news story. And I need all of you to stop what you're doing and listen. Bitcoin!
I don't give a fuck if he
Was
sold
that
3 billion.
Tina?
Thank you for that free Bitcoin, Elon. If you want to sell that shit, Bitcoin doesn't need you either. In fact, go ahead and sell all 1.5 billion. All the plebs will eat that shit up. Pardon my French for the news hour. The FCC's coming for me. It's all good.
So it's also possible that Elon didn't want to sell, but what happened is that he got some backlash from other big investors that it was irresponsible or something. So he just did that to kind of pacify them and also to show that, look, we made a profit already, 250 million.
So you're
Yeah, I mean,
saying we can still fan?
Yeah,
yeah, pretty much.
If you
But
can
but
ignore the Doge tweets, you can continue to fanboy.
Oh, it's so
the
hard to
thing
ignore
that threw me
those.
off. Yeah, there's that too, and I joined the VJ crew when I thought that Elon was dead to me with all the Doge stuff, but then he resurrected on the third day with his $1.5 billion purchase. But all joking aside, guys, I see you in the queue. There's some rules to this game. If you want to jump on stage, simply join and be selfless by educating us on an article that you've read today that is relevant to Bitcoin, perhaps from the weekend. There was a lot of news. It is Monday, but change your avatar and raise your hand. Get ready to educate us, and we'll have a quick riffraff on this for a few minutes. Anybody else want to talk about Elon or Tesla? Sorry to cut you guys off.
No, let's move on.
I'm ready. Aaron, you want to kick in with your story? Is your internet back, or do you want us to move on to another?
Yeah, sure. So just an update from Turkey. We have mania in the wake of a collapse of two now exchanges, one Thodex, one vBitcoin, has triggered what Bloomberg calls a manhunt for one of the exchange founders, Farouk Fatih Ozer, and a pledge last week by the central bank to tighten regulations regarding cryptocurrencies. The two exchanges were part of a boom that drew in legions of Turks seeking to protect their savings. Inflation is hitting 16.2% as of March, more than 3 times the central bank's earlier target. The lira has weakened more than 10% against the dollar this year, headed for its 9th month of consecutive losses. Just a reminder again, obviously Turkey is much different from a lot of the, other countries that a lot of the people in Clubhouse live in, but still just a great reminder to not leave any of your Bitcoin on exchanges. Thodex had about 390,000 users with 744 million in trading volume. The Bitcoin had close to 60 million a day in trading volume. So good reminder to take your Bitcoin off of the exchanges.
I mean, we saw that happen with Quadriga, not too long ago, and that was in Canada. So, it can happen anywhere. Not your keys, not your coins, folks.
I'm curious,
But,
were people able to get their Bitcoin off? Or I mean, what's the status of like withdrawals and stuff?
No, so there are, it looks like 29 people have been questioned so far. Turkish police have flown to Albania and Kosovo as part of investigations. They have 62 people up for court depositions. The founder is still at large. His whereabouts are unknown. So who knows what is going to happen here?
Is the site still on? Or withdrawals active?
No, the funds are still locked. It's estimated losses could exceed $2 billion.
Fucking A.
Not your keys, not your.
we need to coordinate an event where we just have, whether it's pizza day, and I think there is one, but I don't think it's well done, and I don't know what supplies look like already, but we need to coordinate an event, like a self-sovereignty day event, where just everybody commits to taking coins off and just somehow
It's
Yeah,
on
John, it's
January
called
3rd.
proof of keys.
proof of
yeah,
key,
Yeah.
but
proof
it
of key.
does, but it's not done
No,
well
it
enough,
was
and I
done
think in a
really
way that
well, but it was started by
We
this guy
lost.
named
that's
Trace
what I'm
Mayer,
referring to,
which
but
got excommunicated.
I feel like with where we are with Clubhouse and this community, and maybe is what I mean to say more specifically, is that I feel like we could really move that to the next. But I will stand alone.
No, you're spot on,
Well,
especially during bull markets like this. It's even more important because someone might really not have what they claim to have.
We all kind
I
of
think.
whiffed on it this year because Trace wasn't around.
Yeah.
Also, for most hardcore Bitcoiners, we do it all the time, or we do it before that day anyway. So if you are trading, but
Well, now we got this story
Yeah,
and
I just feel like
reference. This is a timely story to be this is why take your money off the exchanges.
yeah, I think obviously this has remnants of all the way back to Mount Gox, and I know Brecky referenced Quadriga. I think the reality is every dollar in our bank account is really not ours either. It's an IOU. And yeah, there's FDIC insurance, but this really starts to go into deeper levels of understanding what self sovereignty really means. And so I think Kize is an important kind of tool, but I think there's a missing element of making this a sovereignty discussion more times than not. I won't go too far down the rabbit hole here because it is the news hour, and we'll stay on rapid fire fashion. Travis, I see. Or actually, Brecky, I was going to cover that news story myself, but why don't you go ahead with the story of
can do. Also, just a real quick reminder to everyone who's sharing stories, if you could please drop the links to those stories in the companion Telegram chat, I'd appreciate that. But anyway, so
Becky,
for
can
today,
you stop chewing your chew toy for 1 second? And
yeah, sorry about that. My dog's sitting here quietly, but I just can't help myself.
All right, Blaine.
Yeah, the dog ate my private keys. All right, this is a short one, but a bullish one. Chiefs tight end Sean Culkin to convert entire NFL salary into Bitcoin. The fifth-year player will use Zap's strike to take his entire base salary of $920,000 in what Culkin said was the hardest form of currency. Ooh, that is bullish. Bullish. This follows Russell Okung, as many of you who already know, who famously followed through on his declaration to pay me in Bitcoin and take half of his $13 million salary in fiat. I don't know exactly, but I think he might be one of the highest paid NFL players now because of that decision. Culkin will start stacking biweekly sats via Zap Strike, the same fiat to Bitcoin salary conversion service Okung uses. Quick chill, you can do this with Swan Bitcoin also. The Chiefs are aware of Culkin's arrangement, but his reserve contract is still denominated in dollars, he said. This is generational for me, Culkin told CoinDesk. Taking 100% of one's income in BTC might not be a wise financial decision for everyone, Culkin admitted, but he said his financial expenses, risk parameters, and long-term conviction in Bitcoin made it the right move for him. Culkin said he became aware of Bitcoin in summer of 2016, but it wasn't until March 2020 that he began seriously considering it as an investment. 1 year later, Culkin is slated to swap his fiat income flow for Bitcoin alone. Very bullish, and I think we are going to see more and more celebrities, athletes, all sorts of people paying themselves in Bitcoin, and hopefully everyone in the audience starts doing that as well.
Hell freaking yeah.
The Okung factor.
He's gonna end up being like the most highly paid football player
Dude,
in the freaking
we
sport.
talked about this. He's going to make more than Tom Brady this year,
Let's
just
not
based on
let's
cryptocurrency.
not let's not just dive into that. Okay, let's talk about the plumbers, the janitors, the teachers who are paying themselves in Bitcoin already and are going to be the highest paid plumbers and janitors in
Well,
the world. That's
I
what really
think the
gets me.
sports figures are good for orange pilling regular
No, they
people, the
are.
plumbers and the
They set
janitors.
a good
Because
example.
when what's going to be awesome is on Monday Night Football when Russell Okung is playing this year, it's going to be a great story for the announcers to be like, the crazy thing is, Dan Russell here. Actually, he's the highest paid player in the league. Would you believe it? He brought his entire salary in Bitcoin. Look at the crazy. And then people at home are going to be like, yo, I need some of that Bitcoin. Yeah, you know what I mean?
I love that.
It's gonna be. I think it's kind of related to, I think Hoddle's assertion there is somewhat related to the story I have. They won't even have to tell the story on the side because companies like Blockfolio are turning guys like Trevor Lawrence into mild shitcoiners. No, that's not the center of the story, but on a related fashion, like these are going to be like there are going to be Bitcoin and crypto companies that are going to be sponsoring sports teams. I believe there's a negotiation for FTX, if I'm not mistaken, for the Miami sports arena where the Miami Heat play. So like these types of things are going to be front and center, and I do think plumbers and blue collar workers alike resonate with their favorite sports stars, in particular probably football in this country. And so, you see the story, maybe a few people have already heard on it. I will go a little bit further down the pipe. Just a few days away from being the first pick in this year's NFL draft, Trevor Lawrence has already made his first big move into investing, signing a first of its kind multi-year deal with the global cryptocurrency investment app Blockfolio. The deal with Lawrence, the first endorsement deal in which a significant amount of the signing bonus would be paid in cryptocurrency. I won't share the other two shitcoins he's getting, but it's mostly Bitcoin as it's stated in the story. We believe that Trevor is the future of football, and we think crypto is the future of finance, said Blockfolio COO Sina Nader. Trevor represents a lot of promise and potential football at the highest level, and we think crypto represents the same thing at the highest level of finance. The reality is that like Russell Okung is a pretty good lineman, right? Like maybe a Hall of Fame lineman, but like how many people are like, yo, that's my favorite player, like left tackle, right? But like Trevor Lawrence is like Sonny out of like Remember the Titans here. Like might be like central casting quarterback, and if he's a killer and he's out there on the forefront, being an ambassador, I think this could be a really, really big.
Yeah, I think Dave Portnoy also is endorsed by Blockfolio, according to what I could see from his video today. Um, Sam Bankman-Fried acquired Blockfolio, so he is going hard. Like you said, Johnny bought the arena in Miami and renamed that one, and now he's endorsing all of these celebrities. So he is getting.
Who is it that's endorsing the Miami arena? I missed that, Aaron. I thought it was FTX.
Yeah, Sam Bankman.
Oh, sorry.
FTX and Blockfolio are owned by this.
I just put that together.
Doesn't FTX have a shitcoin?
They have tons of shitcoins.
Yes, they do.
I mean, but they have their own. Like they made their
Yeah.
own.
Yeah, like 4, 5.
That's ridiculous.
How do you think they're going to pay for the naming rights to a stadium
That's
with
exactly
fake money?
right.
With fake money that.
I mean, it's a great way to pay for things. It works excellently.
It's like double fiat.
All right, folks, there you have it. Dustin, you want to talk about Mr. Lettuce Hands?
Oh yes. So the story is the infamous, one of the most infamous Bitcoin hodlers, who then had lettuce hands and sold it, is Dave Portnoy, and he had got probably dozens of Bitcoin back in the day that he sold. Watched it go without him, and we've been enjoying making fun of him. He has now bought a whole new Bitcoin, and he's back on the wagon. That's the news.
One whole Bitcoin, I think is the quote.
Correct. Yes.
It just feels cool to be like, know that you're going to be richer than that guy. Like, it's just, you're going to be richer than that guy. There's no way about it. I wish Jason Williams was here, but anybody else want to comment on Mr. Barstool?
Oh man, it was so great when Michael Saylor told him he could afford at least 6.15 Bitcoin. That was amazing.
So good. Anybody else? Well, I changed my story to the Michael Saylor quote that I wanted to highlight from today. Or story, pardon me. Use this time to reset the room then. Guys, welcome to the Bitcoin News Hour. This is a catch-up, Cliff Notes-like version, rapid-fire audience participation. Really simple. If you've read a Bitcoin news story, change your avatar, much like we have. Raise your hand, come on stage. And Tiny and Uncle Paul, if you don't mind changing your story or your avatar to a story, that would be great. Before you come on stage, simply give us a summary in about 1 or 2 minutes. We'll try to riff-raff on it for no more than 3 or 4 minutes. Hopefully in the hour we'll cover and get you caught up on the entire news stories of the day. Bitcoin Bernoulli, what do you got for us, man?
Oh, hello. So I thought this was interesting. I was looking for some news, and I figured out that today was the anniversary, the 10-year anniversary of the last message that Satoshi sent. And Pete Rizzo wrote this article. It kind of seems like it was mostly to promote the other thing that he wrote about Satoshi, but this is also a really good read. And the title is just based on his Satoshi's final email, but he put some interesting facts that he found out in here. And some of them I didn't know, but there's 7. I'll just read them real quick. Number 1 was Satoshi believed that Bitcoin was in fact an alternative to central banking. 2, Satoshi was active behind the scenes after he, quote, left Bitcoin, and that's actually referring to the last months between December 2010 and April 26, 2011, when he sent the last message. So he and there have been, I guess, recently, Pete did uncover some more emails that no one had seen before. So I'm looking forward to reading his Last Days of Satoshi article. But number 3, Satoshi knew Bitcoin was a scientific breakthrough. Number 4, Satoshi was really spooked by the idea that Bitcoin could be compromised. Number 5, Satoshi actually ran Bitcoin as a benevolent dictator, which that part I found pretty interesting. And he followed kind of a typical setup of any open source project, where he wrote official code and then had other people test it. And number 6, Bitcoin users became critical of Satoshi before the end. And number 7, Satoshi removed his name from the Bitcoin software before leaving. And he removed his name from the copyright claim in the software and left the code to, quote, all Bitcoin developers. So I thought this article was a really good read, and I am looking forward to reading his article in more depth. The other one is called The Last Days of Satoshi, What Happened to Bitcoin's Creator.
Anybody want to weigh in on the Lord Satoshi's final writings, final lesson?
So it was 10 years ago today. He sent his last
Yeah,
message.
yeah, April 26, 2011.
All
It's
right.
like after the CIA announcement or something when Andreessen mentions the CIA and then like we never hear.
That was such a dumb move on
What was
Andreessen's
he
part. Like,
thinking?
what was he
What the fuck? I
thinking?
know. It's like, dude, what? Like even if Mike Putty mentioned the CIA, I might not raise my head. Much less if I was working on a replacement.
Dude, in the documentary, Andreessen's like, yeah, I told him I went to the CIA, and his face looks so confused as to why Satoshi stopped talking to him. What?
Trying to pull Joe up, raise his hand, but oh, there he goes. Joe, do you want to weigh in on that, partner?
Yeah, the only thing I was asking, I recall, and someone correct me if this is wrong, I thought that Satoshi actually came out of the woodwork during the Craig Wright, early on the Craig Wright days, to say he was not Craig Wright. It's actually, through one of his profiles, he publicly disavowed the fact that Craig Wright was him. Is that not the case? I remember
Do you mean the signed keys that said that, or the message from one of his accounts?
the message from one of his accounts. I thought that was the final message, the last recorded, communication from Satoshi.
Yeah, now that you mention it, remember that. I mean, I think there was some controversy, like, was it really Satoshi or someone knew how to log into that thing? I don't remember the details of that.
There were other people who had gained control of that email address and the accounts it was linked to, like the P2P Foundation and so on. So it was highly likely not actually Satoshi, but it was very kind of whoever commandeered that profile to send such a message.
How do you know someone gained?
Peter Todd was pretty confident about that, as well as Eric Lombroso and a couple other early core devs who had directly communicated with Satoshi. And I think there was some forensics done that confirmed that the credentials were commandeered, obtained, or hacked, or whatever you want to say, but it doesn't look like it was ever used for any nefarious purposes. And then shortly thereafter, those profiles were deactivated.
Yeah, I think Satoshi shared a lot of his stuff before leaving, is my understanding. The big thing he shared was that alert message system private key. That was one of the big controversies.
It was Dorian though, right? Not CSW. No, that 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 was referenced from the GMX address. I think they were saying Satoshi said after the account was compromised that he or she or they wasn't Dorian
Oh,
Nakamoto.
yeah, it did happen. I remember that now.
And then there was a the Bitcoin Talk administrator was Michael. Can't recall. I think it was like Marquardt. That's Thamos, right? So he had mentioned also that there was some suspicious messaging that led him to believe that the account was compromised.
Well, there you have it, folks. We still don't know who the hell Satoshi Nakamoto.
Breaking news.
Which is a really impressive fact.
Breaking news. I hate to do this and break tradition, but we do have to rewind news stories because I pinged Jason Williams into the room to comment on Lettuce Hands himself, Dave Portnoy, who now has less Bitcoin than, like, my children. Hey, Jason, you there, partner?
Yeah,
I
look,
had two questions.
yeah, so Dave Portnoy up, Elon Musk down.
Didn't expect you to go that direction there, but
Yeah,
nonetheless, you're absolutely right. Those are facts.
Elon Musk dumped on the plebs. He's got olive oil nuts, paper hands, puzzle hands, fucking lettuce hands. And Dave Portnoy, I'm graduating him to chicken nuts and mitten hands. We'll see how he.
Yeah, those are precious and soft. Those are probably very, very, very well moisturized hands. Jason, I have to ask there. On the second of those watches in the picture, there is that Moscow time that is displayed on the second.
Yep. there are three Rolexes at once to keep track of different time zones. You know,
Oh no, I appreciate that, and I gather one of those was Moscow time, and certainly appreciate you.
This is what success.
When a white man wears what my uncles wear on the regular as a scarf, that's what success looks like, Jason. I appreciate you with the shout out to my.
it's my pleasure. Good to be here. Fuck.
Hey, thank you, Elon. Elon, you sold us a bunch of on sale Bitcoin. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Did they say what price?
I did not.
Just the total sale price. It was like 232 million, but keeping one.
Don't know.
So they just
It
shaved some
shows a
profit on the
complete,
way up.
yeah, it shows a complete lack of understanding of Bitcoin and problems with Tesla.
Well, yeah, because let's be honest, right, Jason? Like they probably bought it because they're really not profitable. They have subsidies. They saw an opportunity to swipe some and put it back in fiat because they're afraid of their big.
It's a
Tesla has
treasury
always been.
play, so they have a maximum allocation that Bitcoin can reach. They probably reached it, and therefore they had to dump. Tesla
That
is
makes no
a auto
sense.
manufacturing
Not to be
company.
argumentative, Herman.
They're not allowed to speculate on price, so they won't be regularly trading to try
No.
and catch swing
I
highs or
totally
True,
swing
disagree
lows.
with what you're saying, and I'm not trying
true
to be
Chad's
argumentative.
changed.
Yeah, I
I
totally
mean,
disagree.
it's
It's
sorry.
not a fund. There's no allocation percentage. That makes no sense. It's not like it's like Kathy Wood at ARK where they have a 5%.
I mean, of course, it's the treasury. Yes, of course, there's an allocation.
There's not an allocation of percentage if it goes up in value. Why would they have to sell it?
Because they buy Bitcoin as a asset within their treasury. They set certain limits of how much that asset may
Did
represent
they
in
tell us
US
that on
dollar
the earnings
value
call
of their
today? Is that what
treasury.
their reasoning was?
I mean, they won't make that information public because then you can
Kathy
just
does.
counter trade Tesla,
Kathy
right?
does. That's why she
Yeah,
sells
okay.
Bitcoin.
Kathy isn't like even a quarter of
What does
Tesla,
that
so
matter? She's telling you I have a
um,
5% allocation. That's why I'm selling. She's signaling to the market there's nothing wrong with Bitcoin, but I have to sell it, unfortunately. They didn't. They had weak
but
fucking paper
do
hands.
they have to give some kind of
Hey guys,
waiver
I'm gonna
as to
let you
why
guys go
they
back and
do
forth
they
one
owe
more
us an
round, but
explanation? It's a very simple corporate treasury play. It isn't the hot news item that all you guys think it is. It isn't.
No,
Well,
no, but to
If
your point,
anything,
you're
it displays that they will maintain a certain value within
no
their treasury and that they're
You're
therefore
this is
also extremely likely to buy up when we
Herman,
dip.
you're
This was just
completely
because
speculating. You have no knowledge of an internal corporate policy that has been set. That's completely speculation. There's no. This is the Bitcoin news store. We're not just making up that there is some allocation that
And
they've set. That's just not true.
exactly,
There's
Joe.
nothing.
That's all I was trying to say, Herman. I'm not trying to argue, but I'm saying, did they say that on the earth?
so I think we've been able to discuss the Tesla story even for like the third time I think today. So I certainly
Fuck
appreciate the
Tesla.
debate, and this is that was a little bit of my position, but nonetheless, just to reset the room, it's the Bitcoin News Hour. We cover about 10 to 12 stories. The way we do that is crowdsourcing this. Simply change your headline to a story that you may have read today. Educate us in about 1 or 2 minutes. Give us the TLDR. We'll riff raff on it unless it's Tesla for only 3 or 4 minutes. But all joking aside, feel free to raise your hand if you have a news story. Anthony, O'Grady, Aaron, Higby, unless you have a news story, appreciate you guys just perhaps unraising your hands. And we'll probably cut off the hand raising function at about 4:45. One last reminder, if you've shared a story, if you don't mind sharing that link in the Telegram group, it is just t.me/Bitcoin Clubhouse. With all of that riffraff out of the way, Toshi, I know you had the earnings piece up. I'll skip over you because I know we've been talking about that a little bit already, and I'll kick it over to Sean. Sean, do you want to give us some of your daily mining?
You called it, man. For your daily dose of bullish mining news, here we have Crusoe Energy, company out of Denver, who just closed a 128 million Series B equity financing round. Crusoe is a mobile mining company that deploys on stranded natural gas assets in the oil field. They take the flare gas from these companies and turn it into Bitcoin. Each Crusoe digital flare mitigation system reduces CO2 equivalent emissions by up to 8,000 tons per year, which is equivalent to taking about 1,700 cars off the road. So they are obviously capitalizing on the ESG narrative to raise a whole bunch of cuck bucks to expand their business and get more Bitcoin. But the bullish part of this, as we all know, is the millions and millions of dollars that are pouring into the actual physical infrastructure of mining on the ground in North America. So we don't care if paper lettuce hands Elon sells a few Bitcoin or what he's doing with it. We know what's actually being built on the ground, and that makes me more bullish than ever.
I love the mining news. I don't know that anyone's more long on Bitcoin than miners. Neil, I see a quick behind the pack pass assist opportunity here. Do you want to chime in on Adam's tweet that might weigh into the story a little?
Yeah, I just saw a cool tweet. He's wrote, "Freak out when you hear which oil and gas company plans on mining Bitcoin later this year. You're all gonna crap your pants, crap your pants, whatever, crap yourselves." So Denver is pretty reliable. So I would take this as a pretty good start.
And it's not just which one company, it's how many companies are starting to do this and are doing this right now, guys. It's insane when you see what's going on out there on the ground. And of course, I'm going to plug my Friday afternoon Hasher United mining room talk. If you guys know Greg Foss, who has done all the podcasts with Preston Pish and John Vallis, he's coming on this Friday to talk about his company Validus Power Corp, which is partnered with Hut 8 to deploy massive generators in the field as power solutions to hook up to obviously all Hut 8's Bitcoin mines. So we're going to have an awesome chat on Friday if anyone wants to check it out.
Awesome, man. Appreciate the education and the continued commitment to bringing us stories from the field. It reminds me of like seeing all these people wake up to this like ridiculously obvious opportunity of using wasted energy for like real money. Reminds me of, like when oil was first discovered, it was like this annoying thing to the people in Mesopotamia. It was like this like crude thing that got in the way for them to be able to access water. And so it almost reminds me of like, this accidental understanding of how to use like, I don't know, an incredibly valuable resource. So it's a really cool kind of historical parallel. I'm going to jump in with my story really quickly. Shelly, you want to jump in with yours actually?
Well, yeah, because you said speaking from the field, and
Oh,
mine
we
kind of
actually covered
relates to
this
this field.
one. We
You
covered this
did?
one. Yeah,
No, I'm
Brecky
heartbroken.
and we covered the Trevor Lawrence story too.
Oh,
So
man.
I'm so
Okay,
sorry,
wah
Shelly. I know you
wah.
came in.
It's okay. You go
It was
ahead.
one of the first ones, but I'll jump in and then I'll kick it over to Uncle Paul. And then unless anyone else has any other stories, we'll probably wrap it up for the day. But there was a big news day, so if you want to kick over, oh, actually, Toshi, do you mind kicking back your image? I want to try to play a game with the moderators with all of the earnings
Yeah, I got you.
expectations for the week. But yeah, I just posted the tweet from Michael Saylor, which I found to be, I was just thinking about this thing all week. I was on Ben's show last week on BTC sessions and talked about it some more, and I just think that like that was the biggest undressing, and specifically the point that Michael makes around there are consequences to this decision, right? Like buying, if you bought gold and he used the ticker symbol TRI, which is a gold mining company, you lost 99% of your wealth, right? Like if you bought gold instead of Bitcoin, that was an opportunity cost that basically decimated you. And so, we're going to continue to see this, whether it's gold miners or whether it's gold itself, whether it's quite frankly anything else. You're going to continue to see how it performs against Bitcoin. And the reality is you get used to seeing these red numbers. And I think if you go to, is it strategy.com is the website? You basically can compare everything and you get to see everything going to zero against Bitcoin. So really, really bullish, really, really, I think another dagger in the corpse that he killed last week in the Bitcoin debate with Frank Justra, the gold bug. So open the floor up a little bit to anybody that wants to comment on that.
again, the biggest takeaway for me on that was the fact that Saylor exposed Bitcoin miners and how they don't actually hold, or sorry, gold miners and how they don't actually hold any gold. Whereas Bitcoin miners, all we want, the reason we're doing it is so we can stack more sats. So we're the ones that are bullish and we want to hold the asset that's going to appreciate. Those guys don't even care about actually holding gold.
Yeah, I thought that was game set match. That was checkmate. And I don't know. I went back to watch again, and I saw the vast majority of the ad hominem attacks and the kind of bombastic accusations that Frank Trustra laid really came after after he slayed him with that. Like, yo, so we hold Bitcoin. You guys love gold. You don't hold gold. Cut the shit. You just dump it on the market. No different than shitcoin creators alike. I couldn't agree more with that, Sean. Anyone else?
Yeah, Frank went super ad hominem. I think that's a sign of like losing a battle, right? He was pretty bad. The other thing at the end is he did say he was going to buy some Bitcoin if there was a big dip. I wonder if Frank bought the last dip.
The only example that I can think of an ad hominem attack where someone wasn't losing was Jason going after Dave Portnoy for like the last 16 months. So, um, yeah, I would say that in that case, the ad hominem attack exception was in full rule. Jay, did I just see you come off mic? I'm sorry. Did you want to? No worries. Why don't we kick it over to Joe, and then we'll go to Uncle Paul. And if anybody else has a story, we'll talk about that. Otherwise, we're going to play a game with Toshi's chart there. Joe, do you want to talk?
Yes, really quickly. Fascinating one because we hear so much FUD about governments banning and being harsh towards Bitcoin. There was actually a resolution that was passed. I think it passed on the 22nd, but is actually signed today from lawmakers in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. It's HR 33, authored by Representative Mark Wright. Basically, the resolution, non-binding, of course, formally praised Bitcoin's, quote, success in becoming the first decentralized trillion-dollar asset and pushes for, quote, state and local government to consider ways that it could help them benefit from the increased use of this technology. And then it goes on to say Bitcoin could potentially replace gold as the monetary reserve, according to the resolution. So looks like we need to all move to.
I can mess with. I'll take absence as silence to the consideration of celebration to Louisiana's state legislator sounding like they're smelling some of the.
That's the second one of those, right?
There
Well,
have been some mayors, and I don't know if there have been. I mean, this is a pretty meaningless resolution, right? There's like no meaning behind the law. Like it doesn't do anything. I sort of read that story earlier today, Joe, but I think it's just somewhat ceremonial and it's signaling like they're taking this seriously. I bet a number of them probably hold the asset at this point. And it's just but you've seen to the core of your question, Dustin. I think you've seen some mayors like the mayor of Jackson, Tennessee, if I'm not mistaken, came out and posted that they were going to either pay their employees in Bitcoin and or hold it on their company or the municipal treasury. He changed his Twitter photo to laser eyes, and you're seeing some more of that adoption, I think. But I don't know that you've seen a resolution pass like this. Someone feel free to correct.
No, it's a state resolution. I mean, it's first of its kind, first state.
There you go. There you have it, Dustin.
well,
Uncle Paul, do you want to share your story?
Sure, it's not a earth-shattering story, but it's kind of funny when you consider the context. So the story is Camping World, which is that RV sales company that Marcus Lemonis owns, announced that they are going to accept Bitcoin as payment for the RVs they sell. And what's funny about it is if you Google Marcus Lemonis, he did an interview on CNBC back in 2018 when he was
Is that
asked
the
about
guy who does the
Bitcoin.
profit? Is that the guy who does the?
Yes, he's the prophet. Yeah, so he's kind of a TV personality too. He was asked about Bitcoin in 2018, and he sort of poo-pooed it and blew it off and said, quote, I like good old American cash. I like it in my pocket, and I like it in the bank. And what I would encourage people to do is if they're interested in something like Bitcoin, explore it, but nothing replaces good old-fashioned cash. Well, sounds like Marcus has had a change of heart and has come to Satoshi moment, and now he's willing to accept Bitcoin. We'll probably find out that RV World's got some on their books at some point too.
Interesting. Did really nobody bring up the J.P. Morgan story today? Did we? I'm almost off.
Ironically, that was the first one that I chose, and then I changed it to the other one because I thought it was going to be cool.
Well, then maybe that's perfect segue. Do you want to cover it really high level, and I'll find the headline and change my avatar while you do that, Shelley?
No, because I only briefly looked at it, and the only thing that I knew is that it was coming, and also I noted that
Okay.
what I saw was in China, so I didn't know if that was here.
I skimmed the story, and I'll do it again. Sources have told CoinDesk that J.P. Morgan Chase banking giant, spearheaded by Bitcoin's critic Jamie Dimon, may launch its first Bitcoin fund for wealthy clients as soon as this summer. The custody provider for the BTC fund will be institutional NYDIG. J.P. Morgan accomplishes this. It will be the largest U.S. bank to start working with Bitcoin. There are so many errors in this, so many grammar errors that I can't literally, like, I'm correcting syntax, not just like misspellings. So I don't know how much to go with this, but looks like CoinDesk is reporting it. We'll see if it's true. Yeah, I found that to be interesting because we all know the public statements and the public stances that Jamie has taken in the past. Yeah,
Shout out to
yeah, no doubt, man. I mean, seeing those types of plays, right, whether it's BNY Mellon or like NYDIG or like really, really, really trusted financial institutions has a domino effect, and this is one of them, right? Like if JP Morgan comes out and buys Bitcoin, like they're not prepared to custody it themselves. They're probably years away from being that type of an institution. And where do you hold billions of dollars of Bitcoin, right? Like they're not putting it on a multi-sig with a couple of their executives, right? Like that's just not how it's going down at an organization or a bank the size of J.P. Morgan's, with their like vast level of operations and just the massive an organization that they are. So yeah, like these types of things have to be in place. Every one of these chess pieces that falls in place creates, dare I say, a network effect even for institutional. I found that bullish. Just we'll keep the FCC off our back. Go ahead, buddy. I'm sorry.
I was gonna say hell yeah. It's fucking awesome. I love that NYDIG is just going around to all these like top banks and be like, "Yo, we're doing some Bitcoin," and they're like, "Yes."
I think that's how Wall Street works.
And Ross, I'm sure, is the guy doing it all, right?
Yeah, he's quickly ascending to apostle status in the Church of Satoshi. Should he continue down that? Hey, Crypto, are you trying to jump in there? I saw your mic come off.
No, it's great that we've come so far from. We're up like 73x since Diamond initially called it a terrible store of value. So it's one by one.
Another one bites the dust. Let's play a little game, unless
Who's?
anyone else has a story. Go ahead.
I was just say who's still missing. So we've got Goldman Sachs is in now. Morgan Chase is in now. Who are the other big banks that are
Wells
out?
Fargo.
City.
Bank of
We need
America.
Schwab. We need Schwab.
I thought Schwab announced something that they're going to get
No,
the.
they announced that when the regulatory framework is a little bit clearer, they'll think about offering.
Oh, they batted their eyes. They weren't exactly buying a drink or taking us
Yeah.
to dinner.
I don't think HSBC is going to be coming anytime soon.
Yeah, no.
HSBC is changing their acronym to HSFP
Nice.
or H.
Sean is a father. Only he can make that joke. Sean, I hope you're a father because you can't make that joke unless
Three
you're a
girls,
dad
man. I'm an old dad.
or girl dad. Yeah, you got
I
plenty of
joined late.
that joke. Sorry,
I
Donna.
joined late. Did you do the Tesla
Yeah.
news?
Covered it 3 times from about 9 angles. But Donna, with the amount of time that we spent hanging out together, I'd be remiss not to get your take on this. So feel free to jump in.
Well, I've been teaching all day, and I was like, I mean, seriously, I mean, just amazed at two classes of students that came in. I just need to brag about them. They came into the beginning of the class 13 weeks ago. They didn't know what a blockchain was, and they didn't. Most of them had no clue what crypto, Bitcoin, or anything else. A wallet, they didn't know what any of this is. We've got people doing papers on mining. I mean, it's serious, serious. So the last class is always they do, present their papers to two panelists for input. One of them was, the writer Nick D at CoinDesk.
Sure.
So yeah, so he helped students like with all the different, like inputs. We got students doing stuff on China, because they live in China, because everybody's not at school. So it was really pretty cool. So on the Tesla thing, I was actually quite surprised to see that they sold some during the first quarter. I found that to be a little bit odd, but Musk is not Saylor, and maybe they needed a little bit more earnings, and their general business line was not giving them earnings, so they sold
Don,
some of the
there,
Hey,
Bitcoin.
Don.
please,
Yeah, Donna, their earnings were down
Jason,
first quarter in terms of
one of
their
our
reports. So I just wanted to add that.
Yeah, no, the earnings were
Jason.
down, but they would have been down more but for the sale of the
Yeah,
Bitcoin.
yeah, yeah. I'm saying in support of what you're saying. So the earnings were down and they sold Bitcoin Q1. So he was trying to prop things up potentially.
Yeah,
I'm not the.
They,
and
they made more money selling Bitcoin than they did.
Yeah.
Guys, I'm sorry to do this. Jason, feel free to chime in, but I'm getting our producers are trying to report from one of our field journalists. Sorry, there's just breaking news here. Do you want to comment one last time before I go to our field associate with breaking news?
Oh, no, thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, can I please have your attention? I've just been handed an urgent and horrifying news story. And I need all of you to stop what you're doing and listen. Bitcoin!
Breaking news. You have it here first. Donna Randall reporting that Elon Musk is not Chad Michael Giga Chad Sailor. You have it here first, and it's now in the permanent news record here at the Bitcoin News Hour. Donna, thank you for reporting that. We are ever so grateful for that deep investigative report. All right, team. We got a few minutes left. We've covered a number of different stories. Raj, Jay, welcome back. Um, I thought we'd play a little bit of game because it is earnings season. There are a lot of folks that are a lot of different companies, and I know it's probably a little difficult to see in Toshi's avatar. So let me see if I can do a better job really quickly of reposting that image. But I'd love to just play a game with all the moderators here on stage, and I'd love to kind of hear your take. I'd like to set an over-under, sort of a prop bet here, that we'll see at least two announcements from these companies that Toshi's listed here, and I'll try to zoom out so everyone can see most of the logos. But I set an over-under at two. I'd love to get the take of the moderators here to see, will we get three or more announcements? Go with the over. Will we get one or none? Go with the under. Setting it at two. Travis, do you want to kick us off?
I'm
Documenting this for the record. Dustin, over or under two announcements that the various companies that will be reporting their earnings this week will have revealed that they purchased Bitcoin and put.
Oh man, I was gonna say two, but I guess if that's too bearish, I'm gonna go with over though. There's no way it's just one. I'm going over.
We got two overs. Shelly, Vegas is calling. We need to know what Vegas is picking here. Are you going over or under two companies reporting that they. Jason, you know how this works, bro.
Over, baby. Elon
I'm gonna
Musk.
ask you for the number. How many? What's the exact number? Are we gonna get five, six?
4.
should have said it at 3. Hey, Neil, over or under 2 companies announcing?
I'm going with I'm gonna go with a push. I'm gonna go with 2, and I'm gonna name the 2 I think it's gonna be.
Oh wow!
Ooh,
Whoa, he's
parlay.
calling he's calling a shot here. Last time I remember anyone calling their shot, I was playing Joe in a basketball game, a really meaningless one. But
What's
More than two.
All right, I am gonna go with Microsoft. Are they announcing this week?
they're on the list? Yep.
And Salesforce.
Salesforce, that's my guess too.
Are they both announcing this week? I'm assuming they are.
well, when you make a prediction like that, you should know who's announcing this week for
Well, I
such a.
can't say I can't see, but Microsoft. Yeah,
Yeah,
whatever.
it's
I'm going with
No,
those
hard to
two.
see in your
they
profile.
both are. They're both, I believe, are on the list. I haven't been able to change my avatar here while trying to keep this game going, but I like
Josh
that
has to.
push. I'm gonna I'm gonna go. You said Microsoft and Salesforce. You heard it here. We'll check back in by next Monday to see if Neil is right on the mark. Jeff, over or under 2.
Under.
Fish, over under 2 companies. What do you got? Bunch of bears here. Toshi, did Elon Musk get to everybody on the street, or are there going to be 3 companies that announce?
I think there's going to be 3, and I think one of them will be Apple.
Apple, love it. That's bear. Bullish. Excuse me.
Yeah, I'm waiting for the Apple call too. Sean, Papa Bear, Girl Dad, how many?
You guys are so bearish. Come on, like seriously, it's got to be. What was the highest one? 4, 5? Whatever
Jason
the
called
highest one,
4.
I'm saying more.
The price is right. Going with the next number. Uncle Paul, Crypto, who do you guys got? Over under?
Over. I'm gonna say 4, one of which is Crocs. NVK.
Crocs is buying Bitcoin. You're going to be able to buy a lot of Crocs with your Bitcoin. Joe, I know you're running on a 5K. It won't change the
No, I'm
outcome
not.
of
I'm
the next
back.
game, but
I'm back. I'm the,
it won't change the outcome. But nonetheless, go ahead. How many? How many? Over?
okay. Ultimate bear on Bitcoin. Ultimate bearish on corporate adoption. 0.
All right, John, I need to revise mine because Salesforce isn't announcing until next month. So I'm still going to go with 2, and I'm going to say Microsoft.
0 for me after seeing what.
Well, keep in mind though, Jay, that we will this Tesla announcement came out now, but these companies that are reporting would have
I'm not saying
purchased.
it's based on what
Um,
Tesla did. It's just showing
oh,
me a
okay.
mindset that I just thought maybe we were getting over, and we're not over that.
We're not. We're not over.
Yeah, no, I actually tend to agree with
Major
Jay's perspective
bearish
there.
on that. Yeah.
Yeah. And I actually mentioned this a couple of weeks ago in terms of like somebody asked something along the nets of like what you're most surprised by, going into this year, and then like what you were surprised by this year, and I'm still waiting because 16 weeks is right about now from the sailor, or we're at 8 weeks now, but somewhere around June gets you to 16 weeks from the Sailor Institute, which is the number that he used for companies down. I'm going to mute you just because I'm getting a weird echo. Sorry for that. But the prediction he made was for the companies that adopted faster, it would take them about 16 weeks, and so I actually thought we would see a lot more announcements from companies that I think are just further along and have had resources looking into Bitcoin, understanding Bitcoin, etc. And so I would say that I was really surprised, and I've been talking about that. I just expected after Tesla that we would start seeing weekly announcements pretty regularly, and seeing that we haven't, it's one of the things that's caused a little bit of concern for what my take on this would be,
So John, let me give a little more.
especially with.
Let me give you a little more insight in my thinking. I was pretty when Tesla did this, I was like, well, of course they did. It's a tech company, right? And it's a tech founder, and he invented fucking internet money with PayPal, for crying out loud. In a way, you know what I mean? He
Oh,
was kind
for
of
sure.
part of that movement in some ways. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, okay, it was like obvious and expected that he would probably do that, as he tweeted. It was inevitable, right? And now for him to sell some of it, I mean, the problem here is it just shows you that the corporate like, okay, he has a lot of influence in Tesla, but he doesn't have control stock. He's not fucking Zuckerberg, right? So he can't be like, no, we're not doing it. Like, and it's not that he can't, but if they're pressuring him, and he's got a lot of issues that he had to deal with the SEC, et cetera, over the last couple of years, regardless of all that, it's like it's a real negative sign to the market, because this is the guy that should be hodling and should have diamond hands, as Jason always says, right? He should have that because
Lettuce ass hands,
he's got
olive
fucking
oil.
lettuce hands. That's right. He's fucking lettuce hand man now. He's going to be lettuce hand man on Twitter for the next fucking 6 months or a year. He's done. But the reality is, if he's going to have weak hands, that is not going to bode well for the institutional
Jimmy,
folks
so
that were thinking about doing this. And they're like, wow, if he took some off the table, I don't know. I thought this
the
was going to go.
story broke. You're right, Jay, and I would tell you the market responded to this, right? I mean, it's since recovered from that candle in particular, but when this story broke, in that hour, I'm looking at an hour chart, I think, but I'm not a charter, so I'm you see the impact of uh, I'm not sure whose echo that is, but you see the
Jay.
impact of that. It's all good. The candle the candle at 4 o'clock definitely took a hit after this news broke. Not here to speculate, but it seems that though it had at least a short term impact. Tesla's going to be a canary in the
I'm not worried about the Bitcoin
coal mine for a
price. I
lot
do
of
want
these
to be
companies.
clear. I'm not worried about.
No, me
I'm not
neither.
worried about the Bitcoin price, John. I'm worried. Not worried, but I think the issue is it doesn't bode well for, say, a Walmart that everyone's speculating, or a Disney, or I don't know, like Apple. Like, if Tesla, the guy who created PayPal, the founder of PayPal, is selling some of it on the way up, he's got weak hands on the way up, then it's not what he's saying. It's not the narrative that we're all talking about, which is that it's a reserve currency for their treasury, right? Like that doesn't, it's not jiving.
Jay.
So if you're on the board,
Can I jump in at
yeah, 1 second, John. I just want to finish this thought. If you're on the board or the investment committee or whoever it is for these large institutional players that are not tech related, they're kind of traditional companies, when you're going to go back and you're conferring whether or not you are trying to make that decision, well, you're going to have people that are already bearish to begin with. They're already don't understand. And now they're going to look at this and they're going to say, well, look, Tesla even sold some, but I don't know. It's not what you guys are saying.
I think that this whole Tesla, Microsoft, MicroStrategy thing is completely the wrong direction of thinking. I think the Jamie Dimon announcement today is a million times more important than these guys. None of the CEOs think that Elon Musk or Michael Saylor is in their class. They are
So
just
true. So true.
outliers that are out there somewhere that have, to be honest, MicroStrategy is a bad company.
Whoa.
It
Shots
doesn't
fired.
earn good
Agreed.
money. And so, and no, it doesn't. This is not Amazon or somebody else that's a leader in the area that everybody wants to follow. Elon Musk, there's lots of talk in the tech world that because he does stuff in space and with the Defense Department and other stuff, they let him get away with a lot of things, the SEC, that other people would be handcuffed and put, off of ever being able to be in a public company. So when we talk about leadership in the institutional world, that is Abby Johnson at Fidelity. That is what might be happening at JP Morgan, BNY Mellon. These are people that now, if they can custody, if they're endorsing Bitcoin, all of the other CEOs now have cover. They are not going out on a risk limb. Their treasuries will say, okay, well, JP Morgan's doing it
Donna,
now.
are they buying it on their treasury, or they're just making it available for clients?
We don't know yet. But if they're going to have a fund, it's not going to be in a treasury. It's going to be as a
Right.
product.
Yeah,
And
I
so,
mean,
So
just think
yeah,
logically, right? If you want a company, and if a company was excited about getting Bitcoin exposure, they're going to always go incrementally. They're going to go baby steps. They're going to get access to it through funds and through like J.P. Morgan's fund. They're not going to go out buy Bitcoin directly like Michael Saylor and Elon Musk, who are.
I
I got you, Joe. So what you're saying
100%
is these
agree.
I think that
institutions.
Donna's point, really quickly, just because we're a little past the hour, I'll
Oh,
definitely,
sorry
Jay
about
and
that.
Donna, feel free to. No, it's okay. It's okay. I mean, we keep these. I mean, this conversation can continue well past. I just have to go pick up my kids here soon. But Jay and Donna, feel free to chime back in. But I just wanted to comment. I think Donna's point is mutually exclusively true to what Jay was saying in summary. That being that I think it's a good indicator to follow Tesla and what they're doing, and to at least extrapolate a little bit of what maybe perhaps temperatures on the street look like and what we might be able to expect, especially if you're going to put him in on the more eccentric and more progressive kind of line of thinking when it comes to Bitcoin adoption. I also think what Donna says is true as well, right? Like most of us haven't heard or perhaps passingly had heard of MicroStrategy. The average pleb did not know who MicroStrategy was until Michael Saylor went and did what he did. And so I think there's a lot of measurement to what JP Morgan does as an impact to Bitcoin, the price, the supply, the adoption at the institutional level relative to, say, something like MicroStrategy, or dare I even say Tesla, a publicly traded company, but hardly a financial institution. Donna, do you want to chime in a little more? And then Jay, do you want to wrap up before we wrap up?
Yeah, I mean, I'm happy to talk about this, but I think that, I don't, on the positive side, I don't think people should be like freaked out that Elon Musk sold some. I mean, I think it just basically says that, okay, he was partially a trader in that he needed some of his assets to be that it appreciated to make it so that he didn't lose money or lost less money in the quarter. But I don't think he is the person that you want to say is an apostle. And though everybody likes what Michael
Yeah, I
Stanley
don't.
says,
Yeah,
and,
well,
and,
let
and
me
no,
interpret this because Donna is an academic and I'm a street kid. This dude had lettuce hands and got olive oil all over them, and didn't deserve the Bitcoin, and I bought all his Bitcoin.
So listen, I agree with everything you're saying, Don. We probably just said it in a different way, again, because you're the academic, and like Jason said, we're just street kids, But the reality is, no one ever took him seriously buying it. That's what I was trying to say, right? It was expected that he would do that. If someone like Walmart or Disney bought Bitcoin, which is what we're all hoping for, or an Apple, that's more of an institutional play. They've been around for decades. They're traditional businesses. It's not some tech guy who's founded PayPal with internet money
No way.
30 years ago, 25 years
No
ago.
way, bro. If I know Michael Saylor, he did not sit down with Elon Musk and talk to him about a trading strategy with
No,
Bitcoin.
no.
This was totally unexpected
but
in
what
my
you
No, no,
guys
humble
no,
are,
no,
opinion.
no, no. Let me finish what I was saying. So what I'm saying is that he doesn't have the control in his organization. He has the influence, but he doesn't have the control. So I'm sure that when they go back and they talk about it, they're like, we should take some money off the table. And he probably said, yeah, I don't know about that. And then he loses that battle. He's had a lot of heat on him for the last few years with the SEC and all kinds of other shit. And when his internal team is saying to him, his board members and others, listen, I think this is a smart thing to do. Let's do it. He's probably like, fuck it. Well, fine. We'll sell a little. But to me, is unexpected. It was expected that he buys it, but selling it is unexpected. That does not bode well for those that are thinking about buying it. That, like, if they got to go back to their board to do this and talk about this with the investment committee at companies like Walmart or Disney or whatever, now those people that were like having reservations about doing this are going to point to the fact that he bought it and he sold it. What are we doing? I don't want to mess around with that. We're not trading in and out of positions like that. We're not doing that. So that's not a positive if you want to have this on corporate treasuries across public companies, because they're going
it's
to use
too
it.
soon. It's basically too soon for it to be on corporate treasuries. When you're just in the institutional infrastructure adoption, corporations are not going to get ahead of that. And so when you see these names, each one of them is huge. BNY Mellon, JP Morgan today, Morgan Stanley's going to have a proxy to it, Fidelity, all these people. This is the infrastructure that the companies look to. Remember, CEOs are mostly insulated around them by people that are risk averse.
We're
When
saying the
they
same thing. You just have bigger words.
well, maybe I do, but that's maybe I went to too many years of school. But the point being is that I don't think people should be despondent. I don't think people should be upset. And if people thought that what you need to wait is for when Walmart puts it on its
I want to be
balance
clear
sheet,
about one
their
thing
eyes
for
are in
those
the
that are
wrong
listening,
place.
Donna, because there's like 500 people in here. I'm not saying for myself or anybody on the stage, I'm sure, It doesn't change my view on Bitcoin at all. It does change the view of board members that were considering doing this, and now they see it. I think they have a reason because you said they are risk averse. They're going to now use this as ammunition to say, no, we're not going to do that. This is crazy.
No, but they just need to they just need to keep a list of all the major institutions that they bank with or they respect that are doing something in building infrastructure for Bitcoin. Chalk one up today for JP Morgan. Public, like complete turnaround from where Jamie Dimon was.
But we all know that they only do that because they have demand from their base of customers. So that's a little different than buying it on the corporate treasury.
Yeah. I mean, I think you're making
it's
interesting.
a risk. But it doesn't have to. I don't think buying it in the corporate treasury has to be first and foremost
I agree.
the goal, and that's where I think it's different. Which is that J.P. Morgan, whatever, all these places are building the infrastructure. They're building the safety net for all of these companies to then be able to transact, to build, to invest, to have Bitcoin. Companies don't want to be out there in the front. But when Walmart looks at it, what they're going to look at it is strategically is how can my customers are going to hold it. There are places for them to hold it now. I need to be able to transact in it. Maybe I need a credit card that offers them some rewards in Bitcoin because that's the thing to do now. So I think that they're going to look at strategically how they utilize it in their business practices now that the infrastructure is suitable for them, in that the big names that they rely on for credibility.
Donna, I have to, at the expense of dare I say, even considering to interrupt you and offend you, please
No
forgive
problem.
me. Our sponsors are telling us we have to go to commercial break here. No, I kid. I think it might make best sense to keep the news hour to the news hour. I think this is an awesome conversation. And I'd like to remind everyone the Cafe Bitcoin room that's running in the other room is actually titled JP Morgan, related to the JP Morgan news for today. So I think it might be a good place to take the awesome news and have fun debating it in there. But I do want to wrap up the news hour because daycare closes here pretty shortly and I got to go be dad. So all joking aside, yeah, no, thank you, Donna. Thank you, Jay. I think that was an awesome conversation and one that I think makes the news hour fun and insightful and part of like being able to catch up in a bull run. There's so much news every day, every hour. I felt like I was tapped in till 1 o'clock, was on calls till 4, and then I felt like I was lost. So appreciate you guys all contributing. Sean, thank you always. Bitcoin Fish, John, Jeff, Jason, Jay, Dustin, Travis, Shelley, everybody, Raj, thank you so much for your help today. I lost our outro because I have a security feature, but stay with me just a second.
What a show, folks! Thank you to everyone who contributed and to everyone who listened in. Don't forget to join Cafe Bitcoin by clicking on Cafe Bitcoin at the top left of your screen. And remember to find our full schedule of events at cafebitcoin.club. We hope to see you again next time for the Bitcoin News Hour.